2019, I wanted to go and attempt Giant and Rocky with my friend and maybe a few other. I don't remember what other ones I planned after that, but I definitely wanted to go and do Giant and Rocky.
So this was during one of your 4 days off stretches that you
Yeah,
came up for
yep,
that? Okay.
yeah. So all I had was I got this like $20 12-liter pack from Target. It's pretty nice bag, but like looking back, like maybe not something to bring with me on essentially a winter hike in
Mm-hmm.
April because it was just covered in snow. I tied up the snowshoes to my bag, didn't take them off, and so I'm like post holing like an idiot the entire time up Giant. And like there's a point where I don't know what it's called, but you get like it's like 3,500 or 4,000 feet up where like you can look to the right of you and like you can see Giant from there. And I'm like waist deep in snow. Still didn't take off or put on the snowshoes, but I'm start cramping up in my quads and my hamstrings on both legs. And I was like, okay, we need to. I think we should turn around. I think we should call it. And because the boots I was wearing at the time had holes in them too, so my feet were freezing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just I got completely soaked. I felt defeated. I listened to my body and acknowledged it just wasn't time. So angrily swallowed my pride, and we went home after that.
Intelligently, though, swallowed your
Yeah,
pride as well.
yeah. So like looking back, like as mad as I was, again knowing what I know now, like definitely the smart choice to do it. Studied up more on the mountains and like hearing about the wildlife out there. I wanted to know like how to react if I encountered, say, like a wolf or a bear, if I like ever ran into them. And I started to join numerous hiking pages on Facebook, and it broke my heart to hear that May is probably like the worst month to go high peak hiking because I like couldn't wait to get back out there. But I respected it because like I don't want to like destroy any vegetation if it was like super muddy or anything. So June came around and still very inexperienced, but 1 week I ended up using a lot of PTO, and I wanted to be out there for about 2 weeks to try and get 11 high peaks. I wanted to go do the Seward Range with Seymour, and that would have put me at, I think, 10. And then I wanted to do Big Slide for 11, the Dix Range to get to 16, and then Allen for number 17 because Josh Allen is number 17, the Bills quarterback.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's a big couple of weeks, especially
Yeah.
given where you are in your experience level here in the high
Yeah.
peaks. I mean, for anybody, Amanda Riggs was on the last podcast, and I feel like even she would say that'd be a big 2 weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, and I had heard how hard Seymour was by itself, and that the hardest pair out there is Seymour and Seward Range together. Like if you're not doing like pairing any other crazy ones and you're not going for an ultra, I heard that those four together are like the hardest day hike. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's challenge accepted. I want to go for it. So I think it was June 12th of 2019. I woke up really early and I left Buffalo around 3 or 4 in the morning. I got to the trailhead around 9 or so, and I started with Seymour because I wanted to get the hardest one out of the way with.
That is such a long day to just go do right after, like immediately following a 6-hour drive.
Yeah. Yep. And and I must have had my head down when I passed that first junction for Seward and Seymour. I didn't see the junction at all. That's like probably my biggest problem out there is like while I'm hiking, I have my head down a lot and I miss signs like all the time. But I went left and I got to this one junction, and I remember like stopping and staring at the trail and had this like traumatic feeling of seeing it like zoom away from me and everything. I'm like, all right, here it goes. So I started walking down this path, what I thought was Seymour. And I'm like, shouldn't I be going up by now? Like I feel like I've heard Seymour is steep. right out the get go.
And you're solo, I'm guessing, on this right now?
Yeah, I was solo. Yeah. And I was on the Wardbrook Truck Trail headed to the Duck Hole.
Yep. I was about to say, I think that's where you were headed.
Yeah. So then I'm like, it was probably a half hour in, and I'm like, why am I not going up yet? Why am I going down? And again, I think I heard about All Trails, and I didn't have like the membership yet or anything. So I didn't know if I was able to record without paying the membership or anything, but I had like this map with me on All Trails, and I see where I'm at, like compared to like where I should have been. And I just started angrily laughing, like, you idiot. And I was totally by myself, but I was so embarrassed. But
sure.
I walked back, and that's when I accepted I probably wasn't going to be able to do all four in one day, which bummed me out, but was way for the better because Seymour kicked the crap out of me.
Now, you mentioned earlier, like a lot of people, kind of raise their nose or get upset about All Trails or whatever. I didn't learn about All Trails until I was in I think my 30s in hiking the high peaks. But once I did, I found it for exactly what you just experienced it with. Is to me, that's the beneficial tool that All Trails is to tell you when you've gone to the wrong place.
Yeah.
I don't swear by it myself when I'm using it. I'm always opening it at home just to like check out what this trail is like. It's just like a quick reference, which is awesome. But to just confirm where you are if you're in the wrong place, to me, is just worth its weight in gold, because I don't care what anyone says. I'd rather not be lost in the woods. And to me, that is exactly what I find it to be very, very useful for.
Yeah, that's when I heard about that you can record your hikes with the membership one, but I didn't know until the first time it happened that while you're recording your hikes and everything, I don't know if you can do this without having a membership with it, but like it'll literally notify you if you're like a tenth of a mile off route, and your phone will buzz and say, "Are you off route? Check your route," and everything like that.
That's cool. This episode is not brought to you by All Trails, though. By the way,
no,
they're not sponsoring this episode.
I appreciate them, but a lot of people don't, because like the summit steward that I met said she doesn't like it because there'll be trails on there that aren't actually trails, that it'll be people that have bushwhacked to go do it and stuff like that, and other people that say like, put your phone down, just disconnect from technology and be out there and stuff. I get that. I totally but I need to know where I'm going to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand all the arguments against it, and I always tell people it's just another tool. Like you have many different tools in your backpack. That's just another one. Don't let it be your main tool, but it sure is helpful.
Yeah.
So you didn't go to Duck Hole, and you went back to go hike up Seymour, which you said kicked your butt.
Yep, kicked my butt. If anybody hasn't done Seymour yet, definitely be mentally and physically prepared for that one. It's definitely very steep. I remember like how I kept saying I was studying up on the mountains. I loved watching people's vlogs, like Jonathan Zarek's vlogs, and Brian Twardy's vlogs. I loved watching their videos. And I'm pretty sure in both of their videos, they started this like new shot, scene, whatever you want to call it, at this moment where you get to this trail, or get to this part on the trail where it's just a straight wall of rock, and there's like a lone log leaning on it. And I came up to that point, and I was like, there's no way that this is the trail. We probably got to go around this, right? Like, there's no way I'm going up this. And sure enough, that was you. I remember like describing this hike to people. Like, I would reach up for a tree branch, pull myself up, and like hug it, and then like extend my arm back, pull up to myself to like another tree. Like, it's steep. A little bit before that too, I met this really nice guy, David Pell, who was on his way down, and he was super encouraging and just reminded me to simply just take it slowly, take my time, and eventually I'll get there. But he definitely warned me about the steepness, and it's going to get super steep and everything. And he was right about that, and he was right that I was going to make it to the top, and I made it. And I thanked Seymour when I got to the top of it. I like kissed my hand and kissed the sign, and I'll forever be grateful for that mountain, because I think doing that relatively early in my journey helped me prepare better mentally, and was like, I was active physically at the time, but that made me like, all right, I need to go harder in the gym if I want to do all this, because if any more mountains are like this is going to kick my butt.
Yeah, hiking shape is definitely, it's like it's a different type of animal
It's its
than,
own thing.
like, just general conditioning for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely its own thing. The next day was the rest of the Seward Range.
So where did you camp that night? You obviously stayed
Um,
in the area.
yeah, I actually I know this is frowned upon, but I slept in my car at the trailhead.
Okay.
Um,
I
I
know it's
have
like technically frowned upon, but quite frankly,
yeah,
I have no idea why. I've slept at that trailhead too in my car
right,
and a couple others. I
yeah,
don't see how it's any different than being in your car, but I think it probably stems from oftentimes when people camp in their car, they turn the parking lot into their campsite, as opposed to just like stay in your car, be low profile, don't do anything outside your car. I
yeah,
feel like that's kind of more of the element. But
oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So you stayed in your car.
Yeah, I stayed in my car, and I have a Honda Civic, so it's a car, but it's kind of small. So what I had to do was I like put the seats down in the back, and I had my heat pad and my sleeping bag, and I like crawled into this tiny space, and I had my head in the trunk, and my feet were at like the driver and passenger seat, so it was a bit snug. And there's it did rain the next day. I think I remember waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to like the loudest like ting ting tings of rainfall on the hood of my trunk, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we're in for it for tomorrow.
Now you had all your
Um,
food with you, I assume?
yeah, in my car, yeah. So that was another thing I was worried about. Like if I'm not allowed to sleep in my car on the trailhead, like having all my food, I hope like a bear doesn't like destroy my door to get to my food.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, but uh, Seward Range, I think, is very underrated. I remember like reading about the Seward Range and like say like Cuxakraga. Like I feel like people kind of talk about them in the same. And I thought the Seward Range was beautiful. I loved it.
I agree.
Um, yeah, very underrated. It was a little rainy, but I think that really helped. I was wearing a long sleeve because I heard about bug season. I haven't encountered the black flies yet. But I was prepared with that, and I had like my bug net. But the long sleeve, like brushing up against all the plants and everything that are wet, like that really helped cool me down and everything. Um, Along the way, I met some people from Buffalo and Rochester actually, and I would eventually see them just a few minutes after I summited Seward, and they offered me a shot of whiskey at the top. That was like their thing. They took a shot of whiskey on every summit that they do,
Hmm.
which at the time, like I think I was like being really strict with drinking alcohol. Like I just didn't want to drink so much. But looking back, like yeah, that would have been cool to like partake in their little thing. Like you could have taken it, but I was super dehydrated. I think was the main reason, so I just didn't do it. Um, I got over to Donaldson in what felt like 20 minutes. Like time flew by. Um, Probably wasn't 20 minutes, but it was like, whoa, I'm here already. And then on my way to Emmons, I met this couple from Honeoye Falls, like right outside Rochester, which is so cool. Like
Cool. Cool.
I'm meeting people from my area, if you
Yeah.
will, and
Yeah.
it's just yeah. And I was there where they told me about the Calkins Brook Trail, and it, again just shows like I was still inexperienced and uneducated I was on the trails. I was like, what do you mean that I don't have to go all the way back to Seymour or Seward? Like thanking them like a ton, and I was so excited. I was like literally running down the mountain, and that was where I learned that I like to go faster down the mountain because it's way less strenuous on my knees and my quads than going like a little slower. But of
Hmm.
course, like if you slip and fall, that bust your face open. But
Sure. It has
yeah,
it has its pros and cons.
yeah. Um, After the Seward Range, I acknowledged again that I needed new boots. I was still wearing those same boots that I had the whole time. They have like I must have just kept forgetting that they had